Hello everybody and welcome back to the appalling mess that is my work area for another display update. Before we get cracking on what it is I'm going to be doing next, I just want to address a couple of things that came up in the comments from the last video that I did. So without further ado, let's cover those off now. So first up, let's take a quick look at the tank engine that I have on the siding. And the first thing you're probably going to notice is straight away, this is no longer a well tank design. I actually decided to put some tanks onto the side of it, as that's the kind of locomotive that I was originally going to go for, but I couldn't figure out how to put these on at the time. And it was around the time I was editing the video I actually did this. So I've now got these on. I was also asked about how this one's put together. It is nothing really particularly special. If I take off the key parts, it's mostly held together by single connections in a lot of places. And I still need to get some bits to finish it off. So the first off in here is the cab itself is just these, try and get in and in focus. I have these bracket pieces which are all coming together to hold on these side tiles, and I'm actually missing some red one wide brackets which I need to source from somewhere at some point, and the roof is just a couple of sloped tiles, so again nothing special. And then this back piece, again I'm just using some brackets which you can see on here in the back here. I'll try and get it to focus. So just some brackets on the corners to add the back piece, and that's all I've done to create this space. The hope was that there's enough room in there to get a minifigure to sit. I've not actually tried that yet, so I might have to give that a go at some point. But really very little kind of going on with that cab. And then there's just a few bricks here, which if I can manage to do it, connect in. And I'm just missing either a 1x2 or a 1x3 piece just to get this to the right height. There we go. That creates the windows that are needed. And like I said, I just need to put a 1x3 brick at the a 1x3 tile, or not even a tile. My goodness, my brain. A 1x3 plate at the bottom here, or a 1x1 plate at the top here to create more space for the windows. And that's literally just kind of hanging on in there at the moment. On the actual loco itself, the boiler and tanks are completely separate. And you can see I've used these, I'm not sure how you describe this. It's a 2-plate high with studs on the side. And there's only the two for each side that hold on the tanks. And the tanks are literally just a stack of 2 plates and a tile. And then these curved pieces I got from having a couple of the holiday train poly bag that came out a few years ago. So again, nothing really particularly special to do with these, and then they just clip on. These actually come out a little bit wider than what the cab does, so they sit a little bit proud of it. You can see it quite much easier from the bottom. Let's see if I can get that in frame a bit better. It's very close, so it's not really too noticeable, but there you are. And then the actual running board is, actually, let's look at the smoke box first before we go to that running board. So the smoke box, again, very similarly, is built using the techniques from that holiday train. And you can see another one of those 2-plate snot bricks. And that just holds on the front for the smoke box there. There we go. And I've added a little handle thing on as well. I keep getting off-centered from my camera. Sorry about that. I've added a clip and a tap with a couple of 1x1 studs as well. Just create I kind of imagine this as being like an air compressor or something to keep the lines on the carriages or brakes all sorted. So yeah, and then the chimney is literally, let's pull that apart, a stud with a hole on the bottom of the candle piece, and then I'm not sure what you'd call these. I always knew them as being inkwells in like the Harry Potter sets, but that stud with the little bar on top, and that's how the chimney's made. The chassis itself, again, it's literally a 3-wide setup, so there's a lot of jumper plates going on here. I'll strip off some different bits. So for the actual running board itself, I literally have a 1x bar going across, And then I've got a bunch of 2x3s because that's what I had lots of and to hand. And you see I've built some details. This is hanging on, again, literally just by a single stud kind of hanging over. And that holds on the rear buffers. And I have these jumper plates in the middle here, and these help to attach these. So I'm aiming, these jumpers are lining up with those holes which are on the bottom plates there, so that they'll push on, and that's keeping it nice and central. So the reason why I need the jumpers is so that they attach to the very middle of this to keep this central, because that's 3 wide and this is probably more like 4 and a bit. To keep it central to this, I have to use the jumpers. I'm not using them in this direction because I'm using the holes in here to jump the position over. So that's why I've got jumpers to hold those in place. The wheels just have a bunch of jumper plates added to them. So it's literally just a sandwich, a long plate running, then each of the wheels on there, and then the jumpers on top, so that they can just clip in and sit in place like that. The piston rods, which are going down the side, or the vague kind of look of what they've got, literally this old eyelet piece, which I always remember being tied onto fishing rods and the like, is just sandwiched 2 of those into some plates with a spacer in, plate to space that in the middle as well. And then I've just taken 2 of these grey rods, which I think get used in flags and that sort of thing quite a lot, and they've just been stuffed in, and then that's gonna just sit on top there. I did wonder about maybe adding a tile or something in here just to fill that gap, but I decided against doing that because I think it looks a little bit more like there's a cylinder block or something going on there, which is quite nice. And then finally, the buffers which are going at the front, I've just got these are actually 4 wide. I am considering turning these into a 3 if I get the right parts to do so, but I've just used again another jumper plate to allow them to be made central on the locomotive, and it is literally just the brackets with a jumper plate to hold this connector looking chain thing, and then 1x1 studs and tiles to build up the buffers. So there really isn't anything particularly special. And then when that attaches, you can see it's just slightly off the center of it. This is probably why this one looks a lot chunkier than the HST, because it's actually gone wider than that 3 wide, whereas the HST is far easier to keep it at that 3 wide look. I always find with the steam engines, you can go a bit over the top with them, but that is how that all goes together. And there we go. That is my little train. I have actually tried this one around the track, and it is really nice when it goes round. However, these buffers are a little bit too long, and they hit the wall at the back, so running it has become a bit of a problem. And when I did take them off so that it could fit round, for whatever reason, and I'm still confused as to why, as it gets to the corner where the motor and gear is, it keeps getting bound up on something, or something is pushing it up and disconnects the stud. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. I might just have to keep running and playing with it to kind of figure out what is going wrong there. But that's a problem for another day. This is very much a secondary model, really. I just wanted to make sure that I had a steam loco on the side somewhere to make sure that it was a diverse kind of model engineering society with different things going on. So that is the little tank engine updated. Complete? Maybe. We'll see. There's probably some changes that I'll do to it in the future, but that is as good as it's going to get for the time being. Okay, so with that all addressed, let's get on with what I'm going to be changing on the display today. So recently I managed to grab myself a large amount of bulk Lego from a friend who had been sorting through it for lots of parts that he needed for Classic Space, but it meant that there was a lot of bricks which he just doesn't use that color palette. So I've managed to grab a whole ton of stuff. It was in that massive bin over there, and that was full to the brim with bricks and different bits and pieces. And I got a load of great stuff from it. So this wall, you may notice, is I've got some of the 1x2 bricks that I needed to finish these off. I got a load of grey tiles, which are going on the top as the capping stones, and loads of tiles to create the curb stones on the paving as well. Also, more of these dark tan 2x2 jumpers, which I'm going to pop some of these plates out from the pavements so that I can put those on so that minifigures can be stood on there. So that was a really good thing. I got an entire helicopter. This one is a fire helicopter, fire rescue type one. It didn't have any instructions, but my son has this helicopter, the exact same one, and I recognized a lot of the parts. So I just grabbed his instructions and then started grabbing pieces from the bulk and went together, which is really good. I'm actually thinking that I might try and put a motor inside of this so that the helicopter blades are rotating, and maybe I can just kind of prop that at the back on top of a building so that the rotor blades are going, so it just adds another bit of movement into the scenery. So that's a future project. I can't get distracted at the moment though, so we'll put that to one side. Something else that I got was loads of plates. So I got loads of these like dark tan plates, which are brilliant, and also got some thinner ones as well, which are 2x dark tan plates. And with those, I am planning on, as you can see the ones I've laid on the top, pulling some of these plates out to add a small path, taking people from that station so that they can get to this little building which hides the motors and whatnot. And I kind of imagine this as, for the model engineering society here, this is going to be where they make their cups of tea, where they've got tools and, coal and oil and whatever else that they need for running their modeling group. You might notice as well on this one, I had loads of these 2x6 tiles because I ordered too many of these the last time I got some for making carriages. So I've used those to make the roof for this now. So that has got a proper roof. I'm just missing a few 1x2 tiles to finish these gaps off in here. But that shouldn't take too much effort to finish, I think. And I also found a black door for it as well, rather than that glass one, which looks a lot better. Although I think I would probably still prefer if I could find a brown one, maybe in some bulk, or if a seller has one the next time I do a Bricklink order, then I'll probably change that out to brown. But for now it can stay like that. And I'll be using those parts to put in these paths. The other brilliant thing that I got from all of that bulk was a whole bunch of minifigures that I can use, and there's loads here which I think will be great for this little diorama as well. Either some people who are working around, come on, focus, phone, come on, there we go. So we've got fellas like this buff little guy, maybe they can be working on the railway itself. Some of these figures were they were chewed a lot. They've had a rough life, but I've pieced together what ones still work, and I'll be using those. And they've got ones like standard kind of just city figs like this, perfect for when the carriages are done with the HST, can be sat having a ride. Same with some of the younger looking figs here as well. Perfect to sit there having the ride. So yeah, really pleased with all those. They're all going to be extremely useful for this endeavour, and as well probably just on the streets as well, having there. Most of my minifigs currently, if I look down in here where all my station platforms are, you see most of my minifigs are out on there, so I don't want to reduce the density that I've got on the station platform. I think that the current state that I have here is pretty much spot on for the small town station vibe that I'm going for. So I don't really want to change that out, but yeah, I'll have to put some more into this and into the town space, so that should be perfect for that. The other last thing that I got, which I'll be putting out to date as well, is there was a lot of greenery bits. So I've got a few bits and pieces put to the side here of little plants, bamboo-y bits, and there's a bush as well. And all of this I'm going to just dot it around into here to start kind of giving some foliage to fill space as well. Not related to this railway though, the chain driven railway, but relating to my my tunnel and canal, which is currently up over here with a boat where it should not be. There should be quite a lot of pieces in here which will allow me to make the last extension that I need to make on that canal. So at the very end over there was a point where it doesn't go all the way to the back of the display. It's 16 studs too short. So I should be able to do that 16 stud extension, or at least get a large amount of it done, as I've got loads of bricks, loads of plates, especially like these green plates, which I need for doing the slope itself. So I'm really looking forward to kind of getting that put on as well. But again, get this one finished first before I start moving on to that. So that will probably be a project in early 2026, I imagine. So for now, let's swap over to pulling out all of this tile, which I'm not looking forward to having to do, because it means I've got to put all of these blasted 1x1s back in place again. I'll get this path in, and I think that's going to help a lot. And then I'll start putting on the greenery, and that should kind of just start making it feel like it's actually a place rather than just, it kind of feels like a sports astroturf or something at the moment because it's so flat. So yeah, let's get all that in and take a look at it at the end. And there we have it. I really like being able to recess these paths in, and it really makes me want to start using Mills plate. But at the same time, I really don't want to start using mill plates. Oh gosh, it'd be so expensive. Really pleased with that though, and kind of helps join this side of what's going on in this little diorama to the rest of what's happening. So yeah, super good. I'm now just going to drop in some of these greenery bits, and then we'll take a look at the overall picture once those are in place. There we go, another small thing done, and I think probably still needs a lot more foliage going on, especially like along the backs here, but just a little scattering of leaves and small shrubs and plants and stuff going on. It adds a lot more character to the build. If I can get some more bushes like this, that'd be pretty good as well. As I do start to fill this out a little bit more, I don't want it to end up looking overgrown, neglected. It should look nice and rich with more flowers, I think, than just kind of weeds. Because I think a lot of times when you have, model engineering societies, they do an awful lot to keep their grounds looking good. So I think it'd be disingenuous to represent this as being overgrown and not looked after. So I don't want it to look like it's, gone back to nature kind of thing. But this adds a lot more kind of texture already, just to, doing this very small amendment that's been done thus far. So I'm really pleased with that. Realistically, I need to go and make some bricklink orders in order to get more progress going. I need to buy all of the wall pieces and the tiles for the streets, which will be at the back, so that I can finish off those over there. I need to buy all of the fence pieces, which are going to go into here. I need to print my stickers for the sign, probably some PBR stickers for the side of the locomotive. What else do I need to do? A bit more greenery, more flowers, I think, is probably a good thing to have. So getting some more flowers and flower beds, I think, would be really good to get in place. And of course, we need to get the HST built into its final form. I've probably got about somewhere around 30% of the parts put together now. As the bulk that I bought, adding an awful lot to that. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to go and hit up some bricklink sellers and put in some orders so that I can progress. But you're not going to have to wait all that long. You're going to see what happens after me ordering loads of parts now. And there we go. I'm back at my desk. I now have a huge pile of parts ready to make my Intercity 125 HSTs. So I'm going to start doing that now. We're going to jump into a time lapse, and hopefully at the end of this video we'll see those going around the little miniature railway. Well, there we have it. 2 HST power cars ready for stickers to give them the proper full livery, and they'll be going back to back. Oh, can't hold on to that. These are a little bit difficult going round, as I've seen with my test build. These wheels do like to kind of try and fall off, so I am probably going to glue these at a later date so that they're not going to be a nuisance for me during shows. But I'm really pleased with how they've come out and how they look. And if I just go and grab my demo one that I was using, I can now pop this fella out, and he can now jump into one of the final power cars. Excellent. So I need to make some stickers for things like the windscreen, the 125 down the side, and I need to extend this yellow section along, and I think it ends with a bit of a tail to it as well. Possibly some grills and stuff like that as well. But I'm going to do all of that as sticker details later on. But for now, super pleased with those, and I can now start thinking about the carriages that will go between. So let's give those a go. And there we go. There's the 2 carriages as well. Very similar kind of construction that they're running with. And if I grab the 2 ends as well, there we go. That is our full HST ready to get placed onto the chain. So now I'm going to have to go and pull the chain apart, add in the links that are needed, and connect it up. And we'll see whether or not that little circuit cube motor is man enough to pull this around. If not, we're going to have some issues. Right, I have brought the locomotive and its carriages back over to the railway itself. I've actually been making some changes to this. So you might notice there's a lot more vegetation in place now. I've also got some birch trees, another little small, what is that, a pine tree that Lego makes. So yeah, this has all been filled out a bit more to give a little bit extra detail. As part of the orders where I got the parts for this locomotive as well, I've also had some more tiles arrive for doing these pavements, so lots of bits have gone down for these pavement parts. Yeah, that's the house or little shed that's supposed to be over here, so it's just out of the way over on that side at the moment. So the connections to the chain, everything's evenly spaced, and I'm trying with both studs next to each other, so this should be roughly in the center of each of the parts of the consist, so it should rotate quite nicely kind of around the corners. Such is the theory anyway. I still think that I'm going to need to glue all of these one stud connections onto the bottoms of these, because they do like to just kind of pop out randomly, which I experienced a lot with the test train. So if I just knock all of these back down into, there we go, into the chain area, and also having these studs right next to each other leaves a lot of wiggle room, so I don't know how straight these are going to stay going around as well. We might need to experiment with moving those studs about in a short while, but let's not delay. Let's put the circuit cube battery onto the motor and we'll see whether or not this works. Hold your breath. Oh, I missed. That's embarrassing. There we go. So we're away. Doing well so far on the turns. Definitely getting a little bit not straight. The corridor connections were hitting each other a little bit there, so I might need to add like a link extra in there, and I think that was getting hit as well. We're going round though. That motor does sound like it's struggling a bit. And we got very hung up on something then. This back unit's causing issues. What are you doing? Why are you causing me hassle? If this was just a big straight line, it'd be no problem. And to be honest, I think if these curves were able to be wider, this would be no problem either. So, where does the problem lay? Do I need to make these curves wider in some way? Is there a way for me to do that with Lego still? It's hard to tell. I think, yeah, that back unit, some of the wheels have actually detached, and that's what's causing all of the fouling. Can you see it there? Just basically dragging them along and backwards now. So there is definitely some tinkering that needs to be done. I think I'll have a quick look at that off camera, and then we'll see whether we can improve how this is running. Okay, this time I have spaced out, rather than being right next to each other, there's a, what's that, 2 stud gap between them now. That is going to make the back ends a little bit more swishy as they flick out, but I'm hoping that that is going to let this get around with less hang-ups and we'll get a smoother run. So again, circuit cube, let's give it a go and see what happens. We're still getting a little bit of a weird angle as they come down the straights. I think I still need to add a little bit of spacing so that they don't clip each other. And that's just all. Motor off. That's all just got really jammed up then. Crikey, that is not what I wanted to see. So, no, oh gosh. It's another train disaster. So again, these are the single stud connections which are just breaking off. Any sort of like small amount of the logo getting hung up, it can't deal with that, and it just kind of breaks it apart. So yeah, I'm going to have to try and address that as well. It might just be where they're tapping each other as they're going around corners. I should have stopped it, so I could have taken that off more easily. But I think it's just where it's getting around corners, and it's kind of, these corners are just hitting each other, just the tiniest fraction, like by a millimeter. Do it here. Yeah, it did it there, and I think that's what is actually causing the problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the chain out again, and I'm going to add 1 extra link between each of the units and see whether that solves the problem. Okay, we've got an extra chain link between each of these, so now there's a bigger gap. And we'll see how this goes now. Straight away the leading engine thinks it's drunk, but nothing's clicking and getting smacked up so much. Oh, everything's fallen off. Oh yeah, that went perfectly. So after action analysis, what on earth happened there? The rear unit seems to have just completely come off the stud that was pulling it along. This one's lost its front wheel. I can see this one, the rear unit, the stud has pushed too far down onto the bar, so that's why that one came off. These ended up pushing into each other because they've lost connection with their studs there. This one has something that's come off and it just got caught up in everything. So yeah, this is starting to become a bit of a nightmare. I'm going to keep having a bit of a fiddle and a bit of change on the iterations of this, and we'll see where it leads me. It's a little bit slow going, but I think I have solved the problem, and we can now get around the corners. And there is still a bit of an issue with it needing a lot of torque to pull this around those corners as well, and I don't think this circuit cube motor is able to really deal with what I'm putting it through. You see it's kind of getting quite stuck on this section here. So all I did was I had an extra hollow stud that was underneath the stud that attaches to the parts of the train itself, and I've removed that so that it doesn't interfere on the corners as much, so we don't get that same amount of lean, so we don't bind up as much. And while this does run and it's pretty reasonable going down the straights there, it's this horseshoe shape that I've added. I added this just to make it a bit more interesting, but that seems to be causing it a lot of struggle to get round. You see it immediately starts slowing down, and earlier on it completely locked up as well. So as much as I don't want to, I think I might take this horseshoe shape out. Oh, there we go, and it bound up again there. So I think I'm going to take that horseshoe shape out and just have this as a plain loop, and that's going to not look as nice, but it is going to mean that it will run more reliably, I think. So that is currently where I'm at with this, and I think that's what I'm going to do next. Right, so I have finished hollowing out the middle, and I've put the track in so that we can have a nice straight run for the train now instead. It's kind of a shame because there was really nice detailing going in in that area, so I'm trying to think of different things that I can do to replace that, and I'm wondering if I put like maybe a tunnel of some sort there instead, and I can still put the small pond in here. It does make this area a little bit easier to deal with for the path coming over to the little shed and whatnot. So there's some advantages to it as well. But yeah, I'm thinking about tunnel because I've got some of these rock pieces, and I'm wondering if I just kind of line these up along here. Probably not the brown one. We'll just go use those grey parts there and make a small tunnel. It doesn't need to be that tall. If I grab one of the locos, about there, so maybe another brick or two to get that up to height could work quite nicely. Brings in a little bit of variation. So yeah, I might try that. I think what I will do first though is get all of the various plates back in so that I can get all these rail heads back on and run the engine round and see how it does on this simple oval kind of set out, and go from there. So yeah, let's give that a try and see what happens. Well, there we go. Simplified, and now everything runs round consistently and quite smoothly. I think that I'd be able to leave this running at a show without too much issue. It is still really quite slow though, so whilst I have everything pulled apart, I might reconsider the using of the circuit cube and in fact change out to some power function style motors and see whether we can get a bit of a better run speed out of it. But so far, you know, knock on wood, it's pretty good and it's happy and running. So I'm going to do a little bit of experimentation around this whole tunnel idea that I just randomly came up with, and we'll see how that goes. And there we go, the new version all complete with the train going round. It has got jammed once or twice, but thus far this has been going for a few minutes without any issues. So I might put this on to be switchable so I can turn it on and off more easily. It's a little bit difficult getting into that house, so I'll have to try and figure that out. Really pleased with how this is looking though. We've got the pond, which is really nice. I've got the path here so we can have some minifigs going down towards the little hut. I've got a new path which is just in front of the steam engine as well. That steam engine is not going to fit through that tunnel with the chimney that it has, so I might play about with changing that, but for the moment I'm just happy that the HST is managing to get around. I'm also still considering, I've got some extra bricks to extend this section out a plate, half a plate, whole plate, we'll see. And then also I've got some really nice gates that I could put in to there to make an entryway for it as well. So having a little bit of a think about that might be something that I'll do in the future. I think next time I want to focus on getting the stickers done on the locomotive, as well as I need to get a bunch of these fences to fill in all the gaps around as well. So yeah, really happy. I think I'm going to leave that here for this week. If you've enjoyed the video, please don't forget to leave a like, comment what's your favourite bit. Do you think I've made the right decision getting rid of the U shape? And also please don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye.